This is Carrie Schell from On Point Quilter. This week's Electric Quilt video tutorial is part 2 of creating a Snowflake table runner. Last week we worked on drafting the main block for this Snowflake pieced table runner. And this week we will cover the setting triangles both along the sides and the corners and adding the vinyl borders. So to get started, I find it useful to actually save my photographs of the blocks that we're going to draft. And so to do that, I've included copies of the blocks in this week's blog. You can right-click on the block and you can save image as. And for this one, let's go ahead and just save that in the My EQ. So go to your documents, go to My EQ, and it's My EQ7. Go to the Images folder, and we're going to call the first one just Snowflake side blocks. And then for the next one, we're going to save that, and notice it goes into the image file, and we'll call this one the Snowflake corner blocks. Now we're going to go ahead and go into Electric Quilt. And the blocks that we're going to draft are going to be easy draw blocks. So to do that, make sure you're on the block tab. So it's the orange one should be depressed, which is work on block. And then I want you to do a block import image for tracing. And you want to navigate to your My EQ7 images tab. I'm just going to sort this by date, and I'm going to take the Snowflake side blocks and open that, and the block shows up. I'm going to press OK, and then I'm just going to click, and it nicely fills out the shape, so I think that looks pretty good. And now I want to do a block, new block, easy draw block. And again, this can be really whatever size that you want. What I want to do is make sure that the snap points are matching what I'm working on. Now they are here. I don't know if I need quite as many as that, so I'm going to bring that down to 8 by 8 for a minute. And I can see that I can do some, so I'm going to go ahead, and you can see that some of the points are matching up, however others are not. So let me do what I can at 8 by 8. By the way, the snapping options that should be checked are snap to grid points on work table. So I can do the diagonal, I can go down on the 1 inch and across on the 1 inch. But notice that the others are not, I'm going to lighten this a bit so you can actually see what I'm doing, are not actually matching up with the grid points. So I'm going to go ahead and try 16. And if you look, like this one here looks pretty good. So I can go across there. I think I can go across there. And go across there. However, I'm not liking that going down. Notice that that last point isn't a grid point. Now I could go down to the next one and it would cut off. Like I can do this, and if you go to the color tab, it will just chop it. The other way though is to change the snaps to 32 by 32. And again, you can just sort of play with this until you get points that work. And then I just need to draw the rest of my my geese units. And I can then color everything. I think that last one was actually a white. But I can just change it now. And once I have something that I like, I can add it to the sketchbook. So now we're going to do the corner blocks. So I'll do a block, new block, still do an easy draw. I'm going to take my tracing image and I am going to do an import image for tracing. Now I'm going to go ahead and save this just in case I need to go back and refer to it in the future. I'm going to select the Snowflake corner blocks now and open that, and I'm going to select OK for that. Now notice that when I go into my Easy Draw tab, it saves all my settings from my prior block. So I can tell that all of my lines, everything is lining up at that 32 by 32. So I'm just going to keep everything the same at this point, and I'm just going to trace the image that I brought in. And everything is matching up wonderfully here, which I like. And I'll go to the Color tab. And even the most recent fabrics are up there, so I don't have to even do any searching. And once I get something I like, I can add it to the sketchbook. So for my layout, rather than creating something from scratch, I actually went to the libraries, went to the layout library and looked at my table runner options. And as I was scanning through those, I found one that had 3 on-point blocks along with settings and some other borders. So I just thought I can change the dimensions, I can play with it, but I thought I would just use that as my starting point, and so I'm going to add that to the sketchbook and close that. Now, if I view my sketchbook and I go to the Quilt tab, you'll find that the last one would be that one that I just brought in from the library. So I'm going to go ahead and edit that. And now I can use the set block, and I can first of all find my Snowflake block from last week and put that in the main block location. I'm going to find my setting squares, and I'm going to go ahead and add them to both sides. Now notice they didn't show up on the left side here, and that's because we need to rotate it. So I'm going to select the rotate block, click the block twice, and they will now rotate in place. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the 4 corners. And sort of the same thing, it showed up on one but not the others. But if I use the rotate, I just needed to click once on that corner, twice on that, and then 3 times on this one. And I have all of the borders in place. Now I'm going to go ahead and color the outside borders, and I want to use maybe my light blue. So I'm just going to use my eyedropper tool, select that light blue so I can find it, and then I'm going to select the Control key and click one of the borders, and then notice that it does all 4 sides. For the final outside border, I'm going to just select another blue, and I don't think I like that one, so I'm going to maybe do a little bit of a darker one there. So I'm going to select that. Now I think that's a little bit too narrow, so to fix that I'm going to go into my border tab, select that outer one, and it was set at 1.5. I think I want to bring it up to 2. I'm just going to click to the right of one of these and just click a few times. It brings it up to 2, and I think I like that a little bit better. I'm going to go back and look at my layout. Actually, I'm going to look at my quilt, and notice that this is built on an 8 by 8 grid. So for my layout, I'm going to want to actually change the finish size of my blocks to 8 inches, and that's going to make piecing a lot more easy. If you wanted a bigger quilt, you could use 12 inches. So each of those segments would be then 1.5. But I'm going to go ahead and use the 8 for what I'm doing, and that's going to give me a final quilt that's 17 by 40 inches, which I think is a very nice size for a table for a table runner. And so once I've got that, I can add it to the sketchbook. For piecing instructions, check out my related blog post. And to make sure that you don't miss future videos, please sign up for my newsletter at www.onpointquilter.com.